Say this is your, like, you're the boss lady. you know I want you to make this just the way you want it. Whatever makes your heart sing today is what we're going to do.
Well, maybe we can both be boss ladies because I feel like
Yeah.
we need to share the boss lady stage with more boss ladies. So let's make both our hearts sing. And from the times that I've watched you, that you're just really good, live, spontaneous. One thing that I like to do before this whole thing begins is just connect with what is the reason that we're here and remember that before we start this conversation, why you're choosing to spend this hour doing this. And
Hmm.
I'll remember that as well. Okay. What was the reason that you chose about why you're here?
There are many, but what came up for me was like, what if we could touch someone's heart today? Like, what if somebody felt or inspired or seen or something like that? What if somebody felt maybe inspired to be brave, maybe inspired to let go of some kind of struggle? So that was like, I had a lot of stuff in my head, but what came up was that, what if we could touch someone's heart today?
Mm, that's a
That's
great
worth,
reason.
that's
Yeah.
worth. What did you choose?
I thought of more on the individual level. I was thinking about a specific client of mine
Yeah.
that is stuck. And it's like, oh, if I could just infuse a little bit of creative hopelessness into their stuckness, um, it could free them up a little bit. So I was just,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, that client's on my mind today. And um, this time of year is really hard for folks, at least in my practice. And I get these clients coming out of the woodwork that I haven't seen haven't seen in years or months coming back. And uh, so just, yeah, wanting to alleviate a little bit of suffering.
Yeah.
So creative hopelessness, I feel like you're the expert on this topic of creative hopelessness. And maybe you can help us understand what that means and how it's related to touching someone's heart and maybe getting unstuck.
Well, first of all, like, I notice what happens in me whenever somebody calls me an expert. I'm like massively covered in imposter syndrome, and I feel like saying, "Oh, Robin Walser is the expert, or somebody else is the expert." So I just wanted to thank you for that, and just acknowledge whatever shows up, and letting go of that struggle. So, creative helplessness is something that I'm very passionate about, using and teaching and implementing. And basically, to sound nerdy, I'm just gonna go geek out for just a second. Uh, Creative hopelessness is basically where we are, as therapists, are doing a functional analysis of clients' behavior. Like, we're looking at, what is the client doing, when is he or she or them are they doing it, and how does it seem to work for them. So it's the process in which we help people see that the stuff that they're like, what of the stuff that they're doing that doesn't seem to work for them. So it's an invitation to let go of the strategies that seems hopeless, and instead be a little creative and look for other strategies that might work better. Like, so many of us, like, regardless of we're calling ourselves professionals or clients, as humans, we tend to struggle, and we tend to use strategies that are very short term and that are often so not aligned with our values. And so we harm ourselves, we postpone stuff, we procrastinate, we overeat, we overwork, etc., etc. And we are doing that to run away from stuff that seems scary or uncomfortable. And so, in the process of creative hopelessness, we are gently and kindly and compassionately directing our attention to the fact that these strategies are not working very well often. They're very short term, and then, in fact, they are creating more suffering in our lives. So, the invitation is to let go of those strategies. And so, there's nothing hopeless about the person, there's nothing hopeless about either you, me, or the people that we are working with, but the strategies might be hopeless. And so the creative part again is looking at different ways of responding to suffering that is not about running away from suffering, that is not about doing all of that stuff that's so short term. So the invitation is to try something different that is more aligned with one's values and is more long term helpful.
So one of the things that therapists, parents, partners, employers, whoever you are, trying to change somebody else,
Yeah.
mothers, daughters, brothers, uh, one of the things that folks get stuck in that functional analysis is they actually get derailed from the functional analysis of what's the reason why somebody is stuck where they are, and they get entangled in the content of what they're doing. So for
Yeah.
example, I recently did a creative hopelessness real play with a therapist who's drinking on this retreat that I was on. And afterwards, in the audience was a bunch of therapists watching it. They kept on asking me, well, why weren't you assessing how much she was drinking and the amount and the type and the blah, 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 blah. Yes, all that's assessment's important. But what really is the sort of like juicy assessment is why. You
Yeah.
know, what are they getting from this that makes sense?
Yeah.
That they're either not feeling something that they don't want to feel, or they're feeling something that they maybe short term want to feel. And that functional analysis, that assessment can unlock things that
Yeah.
is very different from, asking your teenager about, exactly how much pot are they smoking. It's more like, why, when,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what is it giving you? And for a lot of us,
Exactly.
that's uncomfortable to go into, because we think if we go into understanding the function of something, then all of a sudden we're just going to allow it to be like we're giving it power. But really what
Mm.
it does is it diffuses it, because then you can choose a different path if you can understand why. So let's concretize this a little bit more. Let's make it a little bit more real.
Yeah.
And if you were, because my audience isn't just they're not just therapists. There's a lot of therapists, but they're humans. If you were to do some kind of creative helplessness on yourself, like something you're stuck
Yeah.
in, how would you do that functional analysis on yourself? How would you use this skill?
So there are a lot of areas one could go into, but one of the things that I see myself often getting caught up in is this. I don't know if programming is the right word, but I sometimes use that. I have all these rules about being a good girl, and about being a perfect and an expert, and all of that. It's a broad class of things that I'm telling myself. I have to be a good girl. Don't want to be trouble. Have to be perfect. Have to be polite. All of that. And when I get caught up in that, I see myself working a lot, and trying to please everybody and not being clear on boundaries. I'm basically just losing myself in all of that. So when I apply creative hopelessness on myself, I pause and I ask myself, when do I fall into this trap of people pleasing and being perfect and being a good girl? What is it that I'm doing to handle all of that? I'm going over all of my behaviors again, pleasing others, not saying no, working much more than I should be doing, etc. And I'm asking myself, how does that seem to work for me? And it works very well, Diana, in the short run, because people like me when I do that, and people appreciate when I do that. And in the long run, it might not always work as well, because then I'm also stressed out and I'm overworked and I'm not taking care of myself in the way that I want to. So, to be very concrete, I stop and I pause and I notice it's happening and I ask myself, Ricky, how does this seem to work for you? And specifically, how does this seem to work for you in terms of the person that you want to be towards yourself? And also as a role model. One of the things that I'm passionate about is teaching humans to stand up for themselves and to be compassionate towards themselves and others and to set clear boundaries. And so it's very important to me to be a role model in that. And so practicing what I preach is very important. And so basically, I stop, I pause, and I ask myself, how is this working? And if not, can I choose to do something differently? How do you do it out of curiosity?
On myself, it's easier on someone else than yourself.
It
Let's start
is.
there. It's hard because sometimes I feel like when I'm in my stickiest spots, it's not so clear that something is beneficial to me short term and harmful to me long term. It's a little bit more shady than that
Yeah.
because so for example, something that I'm struggling with that's really present right now is I'm trying to carve out a day a week to work on writing a book. And part of that carving out has to do with not seeing clients on that day. And what's happening is and it's not even more like a half day. So I'll set my schedule of half day, 4 hours. This is my writing time. I'll put it in my calendar. I'll let people know this is my writing time. Do not disturb. And inevitably, it's on Monday mornings from 8 to 12. And inevitably on Sunday, I will get a text from a client. I'm in a crisis, all sorts of things. I come into my texts or my phone, my email. And in that moment, it doesn't feel quite so clear that I can't, just hold on to that 4 hours because I also really care about being a therapist that's responsive to
Mm,
my clients' needs.
mm,
And I end up putting them in that spot. And then long
yeah.
term, I don't get the stuff written that I need to get written, or I end up stealing from other times, like times with my
Yeah.
kids or times on my weekend. So that's where I feel really stuck in that space. And I know there's a creative hopelessness solution to it. And there's something that
Yeah.
I don't want to feel that I need to feel. And I
Yeah.
don't see it clearly, but I can do it
Yeah.
really well with other people. I,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like my favorite process to use with clients because I can just sit
Yeah.
there in the discomfort all day long. It's like, it's nice when it's your discomfort, not mine.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah. Yeah.
And I love what you're saying, Diana, because I do feel it's often very shady. Like it's hard to tell in that moment whether it's long term or short term beneficial. It's really hard to tell. Often
Mhm.
we'll know afterwards. Uh, you know, when we contact the long term consequences, that's often when we know that we should have done, maybe we should have done something else. Maybe we should have prioritized differently.
Yeah. And I know that
Yeah,
folks relate to this a lot around time management in
yeah,
terms of how they're using your time. That's where I see it come up a lot, but it may not be that they're writing a book, but maybe they want to start moving their bodies and they schedule
mm,
out, they're going to go to their exercise class from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., but inevitably a child gets sick or, the ride can't take them. And they're in that spot again of
mm,
I can't do this thing that I had planned or that there's not enough time to prioritize the things that I want to prioritize. So how would you
mm.
work with people on that in the more shadowy, where you feel that, I mean, people often call it a values conflict, but I think it's more of a time conflict. How do you work with people on that?
Well, first of all, I would agree with that because I don't, I can see why you would say it's a value conflict, but I do agree that it's a more like a time management conflict. One of the things that I would do is first of all, have compassion for that. Like, have compassion for the fact that this is hard. When you are choosing to not move your body because you needed to drive the kids or whatever, you're choosing one value, and when you are then choosing to care for your body and not driving your kids, you're choosing a different value. And I think it's that I think like if we are starting now also to blame people for their choices when we know that people are doing the best that they can, I think we're adding suffering to that equation. So one thing I would do is like have compassion for how hard that is, but also, I would work on making room for whatever discomfort shows up when we are making a choice. Like, so let's say you have chosen to move your body and something else shows up and you choose to say no to that to move your body. Then you probably have like feel guilt or shame or whatever shows up. And I would work on making room for that experience. So going to the gym with or whatever you are doing to move your body, going to your yoga mat, going for a walk with your dog, with shame, with discomfort, with thoughts of you should probably also be driving somebody else right now. So, making room for whatever shows up when you're making these little choices, and then um, having people contact the actual consequences of a accumulated series of choices where you see that you can care for your body, if that was what was important to you. You can do that. And the road, like the when we travel down that road, it's often connected with, again, shame or guilt or pain or tiredness or whatever. So making room for those experiences when we make these little or big choices in life. Does that make sense, Diana?
So you're making room for whatever experience you have. And are you using that feeling of guilt to make your decision, or are you using something else to make your decision?
Oh, this is so interesting because, like, so let's take me for an example. Like, so moving my body is, I have like recently, started a healthier journey. Just taking more care of my body. I've been started to eat a little bit more healthy and moving my body a little more, as an total act of self care. And so I have I've noticed myself in these situations where I am moving I don't know if this makes sense, but I have so let's say in the evening, I decide that I'm going to go to the gym in the morning, or I'm going to go to the yoga mat in the morning. And then I have said to myself, but let's see what I feel like. So I'm kind of moving the decision until the morning. And I don't have children that needs to be, not, well, my children are so grown up that they can take care of themselves. But then what I have is like, I don't have time in the morning, and I have pain in the morning, and I have tired in the morning, and I have I should sleep an hour more. Like, I'm having all of these experiences that are so kind of clouding and making it hard for me to get to where I want it to go. So one of the things is I would look at how do you decide, which was your question, like how do you decide then what to do? And one of the things I've noticed with myself, I have to decide my exercise tomorrow needs to be decided tonight.
Mhm.
Because if I wait until the morning, I would be all over the place and I would never get anywhere. So what I need to work on is wake up in the morning knowing that I said to myself, I wanted to go to the gym, connecting with why was this important to me? First of all, like, why is it important to go to the gym? For a long time, for me, it was like, I don't want to be fat and I don't want to be disgusting and I want to be this and that. It was not helpful for me. So now I'm going to the gym to take care of my body, to get older, to be there for my children. So I have changed the function behind me going to the gym. So I'm connecting with the values part and the function of it. And I'm also reminding myself what thoughts, feelings, experiences will often show up as I'm about to go to the gym. I don't have time. I feel tired. I am in pain. I should be writing a book. I should be preparing this podcast, etc., etc. And then knowing that this will often show up, it's easier for me to step back from it, allow it, and bring it. So I bring a pretty big bag to the gym. I have my
Mhm.
water, I have my towel, I have my shoes, and I have shame and guilt and tired and pain. And so that's exactly what I would do with clients as well. Like, when you know, when can you make that choice? When can you decide that you're going to do this? And when it gets hard, when you are being steered in all other directions, how may you help yourself to honor the choice that you made to care for your body? And what kind of experiences would you need to make room for? So we're actually assuming that this will be hard. Like, if it's not hard to go to the gym, it's probably not something that we're going to discuss in therapy anyway, is it? So it's all of these little choices to behave and to act differently in life and to navigate towards what is important, and looking at what shows up that might be a barrier, and uh, how may you handle that barrier so that you get to where you want it to go.
Right. So that taking that big bag full of guilt or resentment or
Yeah.
dread or whatever it is that's in your bag to go towards the thing that you care about. It could be you're
Yeah.
taking that bag to your in-laws' house, or you're taking that bag to a
Exactly.
difficult friendship that you want to repair, or you're taking that bag to some kind of social justice action that you want to take. It's not going to be such a clear path of it's so obvious that this is what you want to do, so you just do it. It's a mixed bag. It's a
Yeah.
mixed bag.
It's a mixed
And
bag.
it's a mixed bag. And I like the making the commitment ahead of time when you're in your wisest version of you, which may be the night
Yeah.
before, or have a little bit more distance from the overwhelming
Exactly.
feelings that you feel as you get closer to that quote dreaded event. And then there's
Yeah.
another part of it which has to do with the expectancy violation,
Yeah.
which is often that your mind is going to tell you it's way worse. You're going to expect it to be horrible. But I imagine by the time you get to the gym and you start doing whatever it is that you're doing, it feels different than what your mind told you it was going to feel like before you got there. So that's where we can't
Yeah.
always rely on our mind to make the decision for us. We have to rely on that deeper reason why. And I could see how that could be helpful for me and my scheduling problems, because there's a part of me that just wants to rescue the world. I just want to I adore my clients. I want every single one of my clients to feel supported and do well. And I feel like their coach and their parent and their ally. And at the same time, I also know it may not be super actually helpful for them for me to be 100% available all the time. Swooping in and scheduling them a Monday session when they had a Sunday text isn't always the best for clients as well.
One of the things that, came up for me when you were saying this, Diana, is also if we're always available, I love the fact that you're loving your clients. I can hear that. And that you just want to be there for them. And one of the things that I have started to notice both in myself and the people that I help, I often help therapists thrive and develop their skills. One of the things that I see is that when we are always available, when we're kind of neglecting the stuff that was important to ourselves, whether it be self-care, whether it's the writing that book or whatever it is, we're not able to be there for, like, ultimately, if we're always available, if we're not in business, we can't help anybody. And so I think there's an important part here as well. Like, not only was it important for you to write your book, but I think it's important for us to honor that and to model to our clients that it is okay to prioritize ourselves and the things that is important to us. And because if we always have to help everybody, and I think that's something that we all struggle with, we always want to help everybody. And that as well comes with it has a huge benefit because we're loving and kind and we're helping, and it sometimes comes with the cost of us neglecting self-care. I just wanted to add that to that. And I felt like the urge to not only I know you block your calendar, but I felt the urge to turn off your phone on Sunday evenings, to give you a little room to breathe, and to write, and then turn on your phone once you've had your 4 hours of writing. Look
Yeah,
at me
yeah. No,
going into
I
fixing mode
no, okay,
here.
fixing, but no, but to see the here now, this is what I'm gonna do when someone tries to fix you. I'm gonna do exactly what someone does, which I'm gonna defend. I
Yeah,
do
come
turn
on.
off my phone. I do turn off my phone, and then you know what happens when I open my phone? I have the extinction burst that's like,
Yeah,
"Diana,
yeah,
where are you?
yeah,
Where are you?
yeah,
Diana, no, you don't
yeah,
understand. I'm in a real crisis. This is a real you're not responding to my crisis, Diana."
yeah, 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 yeah,
And then, I didn't respond to the
yeah,
crisis. I better index on
yeah,
my helpfulness now. So that's
yeah.
that's the thing, is that the thing that, and maybe we could do a real play on this, because the thing that I really struggle with is feeling like I didn't I didn't do my job. And so I
Yeah,
will do whatever I can to not feel
yeah.
that feeling.
Let's go into that. So, so tell me about that experience when when you feel like you're letting people down. What shows up for you then?
Uh, I think what shows up for me is that I've harmed someone. I could have done a better job. Um, they're disappointed in me in some way. They're going to leave.
Ah, they're gonna leave.
Yeah.
And what shows up for you as you experience that they're going to leave?
So if it's in a client setting, I'm scared for them because I'm afraid they won't come back to therapy and something, something may happen to
Yeah.
them. And then in a friendship setting, it's more of a feeling of abandonment if they're going to leave because I wasn't a good enough friend, or didn't
Yeah.
call them back soon enough, or remember that it was the anniversary of their dad's death, or whatever it is, that the things that I sometimes forget.
And what shows up for you when you think about, you being abandoned, whether it's, professionally by a client or privately? What shows up for you when you contact the fear of abandonment?
That it's my fault, and almost like a sort of like I knew it wouldn't last kind of feeling. Sometimes I feel, because I feel especially within the friendship realm, that sort of I kind of have this, like, it could drop any minute. Like they could start not liking me at any point in time, and then I could lose them. And and that's happened in
Yeah.
friendships in the past. So I'm afraid of that happening again.
Of course you are. It makes perfect sense that you would fear that. And so when you contact this fear of abandonment, whether it's with clients or with friends, and you contact your history of clients abandoning you, and friends abandoning you, what do you see yourself doing? You spoke a little bit about it being available to clients, making sure that you are there. If they wrote you a text on Sunday, you are there Monday morning. What do you do in other like in a more private context when you are noticing the fear of abandonment breathing down your neck?
I ruminate on it. I try and figure out how I'm going to fix it. And then really quickly will let go of anything that I had planned for myself. Um, so like today I had, it's not even planned for myself. I do this back and forth thing with my schedule where I'll schedule stuff and then I'll cancel stuff and then I'll reschedule stuff that feels really haphazard and not pre-planned. I teach yoga in my kids' school on Tuesday. So this was an example of this past week. I was gone for a week. I came back to like client crisis. And so then I schedule the client and then I'm texting the teacher saying I can't make it to yoga because I have to put a crisis client in. And then I'm thinking, oh no, but I really wanted to teach yoga. It's really important for me to show up for my kids. And then I, contact the client to try and move it. And I'm doing this back and forth kind of shuffling
Yeah.
of trying to find how the puzzle pieces could fit together so that everyone can be happy and everyone can get what they need from me. And then inevitably I can't figure out how to make that puzzle work. And I frustrate people, like my poor fifth grade teacher. That's like, are you coming to yoga or not? I have to plan my lesson. Yeah, I just lose that capacity to think clearly. I guess I'm in the morning exercise decision making as opposed to the night before.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, kind of breaks my heart to hear you right now, Diane, because I hear like a woman who's busy, taking care of everyone's needs, and at the same time, it sounds like a real juggle, and at the same time, it sounds like there's a kind of a cost in there. Like there's something, um, there's a consequence and a cost in there. What do you notice being the cost of you being available to everybody and making sure everybody's needs are met and everybody's happy? Does it come with a cost for you?
Yeah. Well, it comes with a personal cost to me of I feel exhausted. And I'm
Yeah.
not always doing this, but when I'm doing it, like the volume of it is louder at certain points than others.
Yeah, yeah.
Usually it's the more exhausted I am, the more that I'm doing it. The irony.
Yeah.
And then it makes me more
Yeah.
exhausted. It all feels like a have to,
Yeah.
as opposed to a want to. And a lot of all these things that I'm talking about are want tos. Like I want to teach yoga at my kids' school.
Yeah.
I love the work that I do. I want to show up for my clients. And then I give up all the stuff that working in my garden and, making a nice lunch, all those other things that are now totally cursory. Those are off to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are those things important to you? Like if you were, let's say you were to honor um, your own needs more. And let's say in a world where you could be everything to everybody, and it wouldn't take time off anything else, what would you be doing? Like if you were given more time, if there were less crises and less friends to honor and friendships to take care of, what would you be doing?
I would be doing a lot more work in my garden. My garden is like it's just a really healing place for me. It's alone time. It's really nourishing. So I would be doing a lot more work. I walk in my garden. It's kind of a mess right now. And I feel bad for plants when plants aren't doing well. I empathize with plants. So I'd be doing a lot more work in my garden. I would be um, just having more kind of like hangout time.
Yeah.
And especially with my teenager, I really need time just to like, I need to just sort of hang
Yeah.
there with him, watch him play
Yeah.
guitar, sit on the couch, like kind of do nothing time. That's the best way to bond with him. So I would need more hangout time. And then I would go walking on the bluffs of Santa Barbara that overlook the ocean on a regular basis. Like I would be walking by the ocean and swimming in the ocean every day if I could. Yeah.
Wow. What do you notice when you talk about your garden and your teenager and the ocean and the walking? What do you notice in yourself?
Uh, those are all things that I know it's really easy for me to contact how good it feels
Yeah.
to do them. There's there's an ease to them. Like it's really clear that I know that those are
Yeah.
good for me. Yeah.
And so imagine that, and I know that you can actually see yourself right now. This is in a sense, this is a pretty cool setup because we can watch ourselves on screen right now. And if you were like to look at yourself, like imagine that we have cloned you. You are on your camera or on your screen right now, and then you are in the chair that you're sitting right now. If you could offer yourself some kind of advice or some kind of a little kindness and compassion. Here you are watching a woman who loves her clients, who loves her friends, who loves people, who wants to be there for everybody, and is so afraid to be abandoned by clients, like what will happen to them, afraid to be abandoned by friends, what did you do wrong? So afraid, and I might be putting words into your mouth right now, that you are abandoning sometimes yourself and your teenager and your garden and the ocean. Like from the perspective that you are right now, like watching that woman, what would you want for her? What would you say to her?
I guess it's just the garden and the bluffs and the time with the teenager is what helps you be more present for your friends and your clients. Because I actually feel like when I'm scrambling so much to not abandon people, I'm less present for them.
Ah.
Mm.
What's it like? What do you notice right now? Like what are you experiencing right now when you say this?
I'm having like visions of myself in those different
Yeah.
settings. Like I'm remembering how it feels to be in those settings, and how restorative it is for me. And then I'm also kind of I'm just feeling the chaotic energy of the scramble that isn't working for me. So I'm just noticing the contrast of those two versions of
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a part of you noticing that sometimes the choices that you are making in order to not be abandoned and in order to be there for everybody, they're not really working for you sometimes. What would you what would you want for her? Like if, again, talking to yourself, if you could just give her a few words of maybe support or compassion, what would you tell her?
Mm. It's not all your responsibility. And I guess take advantage of the abundance that's here. It's not that far. It's like I can see my garden from here. So there's an element of that, of like that there maybe just taking advantage of what already is here to nourish you, and let go of some of the responsibility that is really not, it's really not yours.
Could you say that again?
What
Could you look at her? Like, can you actually see yourself? I know you can't. So then you're not looking in the camera. But if you look at the screen
yeah.
and look at yourself and you were to say, Diana, it's not your responsibility.
Well, this is like watching yourself on Zoom while you're eating.
Exactly.
it's so it's so it's so
I know.
uncomfortable.
I
yeah.
know.
oh gosh. Um yes, okay. Here we are. Uh Diana, it's not your Diana, it's not your responsibility.
Can you say it again?
Diana, it's not your responsibility.
Yeah.
Even though it feels like it is.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, she's trying to carry the entire world on her shoulders, right? What do you notice in yourself as you say this to yourself?
There's a combination of sadness and relief.
Yeah. I am deeply moved by you and by what you just said. And from this place, let's say you were to choose to calibrate your behaviors a little bit so that the next time you feel the urge to be everything to everybody at the cost of time with your teenager, time in your garden, time in the ocean, time on your book. If you were to tell yourself that it's not entirely your responsibility, how might you choose to act differently in similar situations? If you could choose to make a little change.
I think choosing to create a little bit more space before I jump in and move stuff around. Just let it sit for a little bit longer. And
What does that look like? Like, what does creating a little space, like if I were
yeah,
to follow you with the camera?
yeah. Yeah, it would mean, if someone texts me, I don't text back right away. Like maybe
Yeah.
I let it sit for till the end of the day or till the next day. And I don't move my own stuff around that I've committed to.
Whew. Did you
Yeah.
see yourself say that?
Oh.
Oh,
yeah. So I keep my commitment to the things that I know, like in the long run, looking back on my life, I know that teaching yoga to my kids will be one of the most important things, or working in my garden will be one of the things I'll really have enjoyed. Or there may be a time when I won't be able to swim or walk. And I have an able body right now that can swim and walk. And so, and I know my teenager's on his way out. So, um, yeah, just like valuing those things as much as I value my clients.
I love that you're saying valuing as a verb, and that's um, I'm guessing these are things that you talk to your clients as well. That values like kind of the compass that guides us, but and valuing is when we put that into action. So you actually taking time for you, like honoring the time for yourself and not rescheduling. What do you notice when you contact, like, if that was possible for you, and it is, if you made that possible for you, what do you experience as you contact that scenario?
Just knowing that people may be disappointed in that and in me for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that feeling. And then also, um, it's what I want. And then there's also a part of me that knows that I haven't been fully successful at it before. So,
Oh,
so it's
it's a mixed bag.
mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All of that, and people will be disappointed.
hmm
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. That's what my mind says. I'm not 100% sure. There may be an expectancy violation there too. actually,
maybe.
I actually think we want for other people to take care of themselves. I mean, I want
Yeah.
that for you. I want that for my clients. I want that for my mom. So it's not because I know if my clients or my mom or you are taking care of yourself, then it frees me to take care of myself.
And I think what you're saying is so important. Like all the small or big steps that we take in honor of valuing, in honor of doing what is important to us, in honor of caring for ourselves. We're giving others permission to do the same. And I think it's a beautiful, like I hope your clients are listening to this. You choosing self-care, you choosing to love your clients, to be there as much as you can, and choosing to be there for yourself. I think it's a beautiful modeling to our clients and to our children and to our mothers and to our sisters and our brothers and everybody.
Yeah. So obviously you were doing stuff there behind the scenes. I
Oh,
I was very much in it, but I know that when you're in the therapist role, you've got a whole strategy going on over there while you're also in it with the client. How are you guiding me to get to that spot? Because I do feel like there was shifts that I made in my experience or perspective around this stuck spot. So what were you doing behind the scenes there?
what was I doing behind the scenes? I think you just nailed it. What you said, that there was a shift in perspective. And that was exactly what I was hoping for you. Um, at some points I was like, I should be doing Creative Hopelessness by the book, because then that was the name of the, or that was topic of the podcast.
They clicked on
Uh,
it for that.
so, we should do functional analysis and do that only. And what I did, like if we were to dissect it and be a little geeky and theoretical about it, I wanted to offer you another perspective to look at yourself with kindness and compassion. So if we'd been in the same room, I say imagine that you could see yourself from the outside, or imagine that you're in the chair in front of you, and here it's like you can actually see yourself. It's like looking in the mirror without looking in the mirror, but you can see yourself on camera. um, I wanted to you to see yourself as you would look at somebody else. Because I hear, Diana, when you talk, you have so much love and compassion and kindness and forgiveness and space and all of that for everybody else. And so I wanted you to put your kind and compassionate eyes on yourself the way you look at others. So that was a perspective taking. Self as context, we'll sometimes call it, if we were to use the core processes of ACT. And I wanted to do that for you to see that you have more choice. Like there are more choices you can choose in every moment to cancel, reschedule, take care of uh, both crisis and extinction bursts, all of that. And you can choose to put those in your mixed bag, the guilt, the fear and risk of being abandoned, and do the things that are important to you. Because what you said is that it doesn't work for you in the long run. It feels important to be there, and it doesn't work for you because it comes at this cost. And so I wanted you to see the costs of your behavior and to see the possibilities of you behaving and choosing differently in this world. And I wanted this to come from a place of compassion and kindness, because you just said that many things becomes a to-do list for you. And so let's not add to the to-do list. Let's put the to-do list in the big bag and start behaving from a place of you not abandoning yourself. That was the thought I had the entire time.
Hmm.
Like, and you just asking me, like, as a, what went on over here. I felt like you said, "What if people abandon me?" And this time, I heard you abandoning yourself.
Mhm. Were there any places that you got stuck or you felt yourself going off track or as a therapist or anything you got hooked
It
by?
it Yeah, not particular. Like I was no, I didn't feel particularly hooked here.
Mhm.
I felt moved, and I felt sometimes I was like, okay, um, is this okay to do like on camera and on, on microphone?
Yeah.
Because I heard you say, you said, yeah, it's okay to let go of it. Like, you don't have to be, you're not responsible. It's not your responsibility. That's what you said. And I listened to the way you said it. Like, I listened both to the pace and the, tone of voice. And then I said, can you say it again? And can you say it
Yeah.
again? And can you say it again? When I did that, I was holding you in compassion and kindness, and I was also mindful that this is being filmed and recorded, and I was hoping that you would be okay with that. But just to be honest, I was a little like, um, I didn't want to feel like I was pushing you, and I felt that that was an important thing to offer you. And to be honest, I want to hold you as a completely capable. So I know that you'll be able to edit this out if you wanted to, right? You could choose not to have it
Yeah.
in there, but I wanted to give you that experience of talking to yourself like that.
That part was the most impactful for me, and I
Mm,
could feel. I mean, I think when I think I said it something like, "This feels like I'm eating on Zoom." It because it was the
yeah,
self-awareness,
yeah,
and then, it was very uncomfortable, and because it was very uncomfortable, it had the biggest
yeah,
shift
yeah,
for me. So I was
yeah,
grateful that you stuck with it through that, and I often feel like as therapists, we may come at that edge, and we kinda rescue our clients a little bit from
yeah,
the discomfort, and like you said, you
yeah,
you empowered me that it's your choice. I mean, obviously, I could air or not air anything,
yeah,
and,
yeah,
it was helpful to just empower me to trust that I could go there and to do that intervention, and I could envision that people could do that type of intervention with themselves in the mirror, which it feels kinda awkward, like, "Oh, I'm talking to myself in the mirror," but actually, if you do something different, if you change the way in which you're relating to the material, just changing the context can change the whole uh, stream of events, the whole functional analysis. So I appreciated
yeah.
that for you to you. And you were so, I mean, you're just, I know I use the word expert and that is hook you. That does hook you. But you were such an expert. There was such an ease. There was such an ease to how you were guiding me through that. So you train therapists, you're a therapist to therapists, and
Yeah.
folks that want to learn like what you're doing behind the scenes and practice. And one of my experiences of you is how you train is that you guide people in terms of how to use this skill, and then you dial up the difficulty little by little by little. So as a therapist, you're growing stronger and stronger and stronger, sort of like going to the gym and you're lifting 2 pounds or 5 pounds heavier every few weeks. If folks want to learn from you and practice with you, how do they go about that?
So, yeah, first of all, like, I do come to a lot of comfort. Like, if people are ever at a conference where I am at, like, please, just wanted to say that, please come see me. Either if you go to my trainings, and also just say this from the bottom of my heart, my heart, please come and see me. I always love to connect. So if you wanted to connect with me and you were at the same place, then come find me, and I'd love to connect. Also, I do have a website, which is my name, which is impossible for anybody else to spell. It's a very Danish name, but that's my website.com. That is the international website. And I do have, various programs, but one thing that I do have, which is pretty cool, is it's called the Act Practitioners Academy, which is exactly that. Every month we jump on a Zoom call. I answer all questions that therapists might have. And every month I also release a new training. Sometimes it's something pre-recorded. Sometimes we're doing a live training with live role play. So if you wanted to learn more from me, you pay a little fee every month, and you are inside of the academy, and we hang out every month, and it's a very compassionate place to be, and it is exactly what you were just describing. It is me. I hope you feel the kindness and compassion, but also me gently pushing people out of their comfort zone, and trusting that we have the capacity to to experience stuff that is difficult in order to grow, whether it's professionally or personally. So, not all of my students are happy with me all of the time because I push them, and they appreciate afterwards that I didn't step back or step down, and that I again help them grow. So. Uh, come find me on my website and connect with me on social media. That's where you'll find me. I just love help people grow. I sometimes say that, here we grow. Instead of
Here
here
we
we go,
grow.
I say here we grow.
I love that. Here we grow. I feel like I grew with you today. So thank you for
Oh, you're
pushing me a little
welcome.
bit and demonstrating creative hopelessness
Hopelessness. Yeah.
and
In a mixed bag.
a mixed bag
we
and
I think we
compassion.
created a new metaphor.
I like the mixed bag metaphor. As Emily Sandoz said a couple weeks ago, we convolved around that
Yeah.
metaphor. So you sharing your
Yeah.
example with movement and me sharing my example with clients, and that there's a common humanity to the mixed bags that everyone's got one. Everyone's carrying something at some point in time. So
And I just want to say also how much I appreciated you, like the way you are. Like you just, it's very I really enjoy your company. And I felt that it was very brave and authentic the way you allowed me to do a real play. We've spoken about this before, and I just wanted to acknowledge how hard it can be to be both a professional and allow yourself to sit in that chair and to get in that space, like while you're literally being filmed and recorded at the same time. So I'm very inspired by you, Diana, and I felt that that was a very brave and authentic and beautiful move that you did.
well, thank you very much. I appreciate that and appreciate how brave you were in being a therapist, because that's not always easy either. Either side of the chair you're on, it's challenging. But we do it in the service of something. So thank you, Rikke. I will put all those links in our show notes. People that want to get to know you and follow you and just want more of you as I do.
Thank you.